Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. We've got a bumper weekend for you. We're going to start with the Irish 2000 Guineas as well. 9 races on ITV we're going to preview this Saturday. Hello to Steve Jones. Welcome back to Adele Mulrennan, and Charlie Poste is with us as well. So a stellar team assembled for you. We pretty much got a bet in every race each. There's a few no bets in there. I mean, probably the least strong opinion is going to be where we start with the Irish 2000 Guineas. But we'll get there in a second. Just a reminder to head to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the guys' bets. We've been in decent form recently as well. Charlie's been banging in the winners, to be fair. And Adele's back, so no doubt we're going to have lots of winners. No pressure, Adele, but that's what they're expecting, let's be honest. If you're liking our content on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up or a like, and you can subscribe for free. And however you're listening to us, your preferred podcast app, then do subscribe to us and give us a 5-star review. And a reminder that the timestamps for every race will be there. So all the 9 races, if you want to skip ahead to any particular race, you can do so very easily. Just check out the description on whatever platform you are listening or watching us. All right, let's get stuck straight into it then. The Irish 2000 Guineas. Unsurprisingly, Native Trail is a warm order right at the top of the betting. Do you know, I haven't even got it up, but I know that Native Trail is around about a 1.4 shot. So he is very short, but unsurprisingly, given the form he brings. Buckaroo 5.5, and then we do get stuck into the slightly bigger prices. I'll get there if we get to any, but really it's a Native Trail fest. I don't suppose anyone is steaming in. Adele, I'll come to you first of all. Whether or not you make Native Trail a bet, I don't know. But do you just see him as entirely unbeatable in this?
I paused there for a bit, so I missed the beginning of what you were saying. I kind of crashed my internet. What price are we offering him at?
1.4.
1.4 makes him a bet for me. Listen, he's such a fantastic horse. There was always the doubts about him when he hits the dip at Newmarket. I actually think it was probably one of the worst times I've seen him do it, actually. He didn't just kind of become unbalanced. He really did knock into a few horses as well. You could clearly see that he doesn't handle it quite so well. And it's kind of at the same time, he goes with that flat spot as well. We know he's got good course form there at the Curragh. He's won the national stakes there. A good point would be one you made, Tom, about maybe backing him in running if he drifts out when he hits that flat spot. So I suppose there's 2 bets there you could go with him, but if he's on song, he's the horse to beat. Simple as.
So only because you mentioned that. So my view is, and I'll probably do this. I might just lay him initially, and then put in a bet about 1.6 or something. Because not small, but if anything, just to have a bit of fun in the race. Because I don't think his draw is ideal. I think I don't think they'd have chosen 1, for example. So he does break pretty well, but I don't think he's going to lead. And there's just an element of me that, if he does hit a flat spot, maybe it's just a Newmarket thing, as you say, going into the dip because he tries to change his legs a good bit. But I feel like there's a good chance he's going to be on the rail behind a couple of horses. And if he does, if William Buick has to ask him, I just wonder if he'll go out to a price that isn't reflective of his chance. So that's probably how I'll play it. I definitely think he'll trade bigger in the run, a combination of how he tends to go. And also, I don't think that draw is ideal, and I don't think he'll lead. So he could find himself behind a few horses looking for a way out. I definitely don't think it's ideal. Steve, what do you want to say about the race?
The only thing I think, Adele Spawn, I think Native Trail is head and shoulders above, but I'd love Buckaroo to win just because it was my favourite game as a child, where you had the mule and you had to put all the saddle and the cowboy hat on without it bucking it all off. So that was my input in that. So we'll move swiftly on to Charlie.
And that is why Charlie, the people they flock to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast for memories of Steve's childhood.
Yeah, I mean, I've only done a few now, and some of the anecdotes will stay with me forever, to be honest, as in walking down memory lane.
Hold you?
Well, I mean, I suppose, you could look at either way, but I'll never be able to leave them behind anyway, unless I lose my mind or something. I mean, Buckaroo, I don't know if I remember that one, but I might Google it after the show. So, no, great. Native Trail,
Sorry, no, go on, Charlie. Go on. What's going to happen here? Do you think? So, do we think we are looking at a stellar 2,000 guineas that we've already had at Newmarket? Are we going to be looked back and going, "Oh, it was one of the best ones"? Do we think?
I think there's every chance. I think there's going to be a lot of very good horses. I mean, we've got if he's not going to get there, probably Luxembourg as well. I mean, Curragh, I think, has everything in front of him, and Native Trail. I mean, he ran a super race, didn't he? It's only sort of the clamour of expectation of him being a champion juvenile that maybe there's an element of disappointment he didn't win. Adele, I think, is right. The dip. I mean, I'm not sure whether it was a difference between winning and losing. I think I'd fancy Curragh to beat him if they met again. But there's every chance to think that the Curragh will suit him ideally. I think you make a great point about the draw, but I still can't see beyond him. And I hope he gets a deserved classic on his resume, and we can look forward to interesting contests to come throughout the season, Tom.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been more interesting if Aidan O'Brien had more than one in it, and with Native Trail drawn one, but he doesn't. So there we are. Everyone thinks Native Trail is going to win. It's just whether you want to play in the run and look for a slightly bigger price. And Adele makes the current price backable, to be honest. So let's move on from the Irish 2000 and we'll head now to the domestic stuff. So we kick off with the 145 at Goodwood. This is the Harroways Handicap. Alatabi is the horse that heads the betting, is 6.0. Gisborne is 7.5. Bosch under Pat Dobbs is currently 10.0. River Pride also currently under Pat Dobbs. I mean, he's good, but he's not that good. Is 13.0. Evocative Spark is a shorter price than that. Is 8.0. Then we do get stuck into the bigger prices. Okay, Steve, I'm going to come straight back to you. You like the horse at the top of the betting?
Yeah, I do. I always like over 7 furlongs at Goodwood. I always like to be drawn on the inside. 7 and a mile is basically a fairly big advantage. And Alatabi's in 3. Ran here last time over this course and distance, only beaten in neck. That was only his 4th start. He had 3 last year. And he was pretty unlucky to some respects last time because he was trapped away and Jack Mitchell, who rode him that day, tried to get out, and he was also shuffled back at the start. I think something came across him at the start, and he was badly positioned, and he had to come down the wide outside. And Notions, who won the race, just got the splits at the right time, and I thought that was quite a good race. I certainly thought the front 2 were by far the best in the race, and if he steps up for that, then I think Alatabi's got a good chance. And like I say, last season, he had some really promising form when you consider he won his debut at Newbury, and there were horses like O'Herbert's Reign and New Kingdom and Dubai Poet, and they're rated 90s, and the last 2 there, Dubai Poet and New Kingdom, are in the hundreds, and then he finished second to one who's been prolific since. So he had really good form from last season. Should step forward for that return. And if he gets the breaks from stall 3, I think he's got a great chance.
Yeah, stall 3 for you. A low draw and a big price for you, Charlie.
Yeah, War in Heaven for me. Andrew Boulding continues to bang the winners in. Looks a bit of a work in progress, this horse. Maybe not completely straightforward, but the run at Ascot on his last start behind Alflaila from £5 out the handicap was good. I think the winner potentially could end up being a group horse. And the draw is okay. He can need a bit of luck in running, but he looks a bit of a quirky customer. He runs around a bit, so I just thought it might suit him coming through horses, and I thought the track might play to his strengths, and with a lightweight, and I think he's well into a double figure price, so a win and place bet for me in this race on War in Heaven.
Adele, slightly wider draw for yours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, usually you would want a low draw, but Ross Collin won from that draw last year, so I'm hoping it's not going to hinder him too much. He's a really strong traveller, so hopefully he'll be able to find himself into a good position. Evocative Spark, I was at Beverley when he won the last day. He's actually ran there twice this year, and he was unlucky probably not to have won both his starts there. He was trapped wide on his first start. He had a bad draw, and Beverley, you do really need to have a good draw there. So I think he's unlucky not to have won 2. That was over 7.5 furlongs. He stays that little bit further as well. I think Goodwood will be perfect for him. George Bowie's horse has been absolutely fantastic, flying this year. I think there's still a bit of improvement to come from him, as long as his draw of 11 doesn't hinder him too much. It didn't with Ross Collin last year. So I just think he's a nice looking horse, and I think there's still some progression to come from him. I know this was the target from Beverley. It was Saturday's the target for him.
Yeah, evocative spot for George Bowie and Callum Shepherd. And I am with Bosch. I'm a little bit confused as to the Pat Dobbs scenario, why he's jumped on 2 horses, but there you go. Hopefully he'll ride Bosch. When he won at Newbury back last year in July, I was very impressed with him. And then he was entered up, I think it might have been to come back to the Super Sprint. I can't remember where it was, but they took him out and they went to Naas for that big sales race where he finished second to Sacred Bridge. They were drawn the right side that day. But Sacred Bridge is rated upwards of 100 or nearly 110 now, I think. And then he went to York and he was very disappointing when beaten. I mean, it's worked out a good race, that York Handicap, but we haven't seen him since. So I guess not all was well. He reappeared at Newbury when travelling very strongly. Hoop at 50 and you won the race and runs again on this Saturday. I think that's decent form. He's gone up £2. And you might look at it and say that he didn't stay. And that is at the back of my mind. I think he's definitely the best treated horse in the race. And 9's okay. I think here, if there's worried about stamina, maybe he'll get away with it. Richard Hannon, he's got a decent record in this race with some good horses. Oh, This Is Us, beat Le Bon in the last 5 years. And I know he's got 3 in here, but I think he's potentially a very good horse. And 7 furlongs here, I think, should just about be ideal. I thought he was far too big to not have a bet on. Okay, let's kick on. So we move on to the 2 o'clock at Haydock. So this is the Nell Hook Handicap. Haven't loaded up the page just yet. So I will come to selections first of all. Let's kick off, as Mighty Ulysses is pretty short towards the top of the betting. Charlie, you can make the case first of all.
2 o'clock at Haydock, yeah? Yeah.
That's right.
All right, Sunshine. All right, Sunshine for me. Last run at Musselburgh behind Enemy, who in the circumstances he had absolutely no chance with. But he made some good late headway. He was slotted in, met some trouble in running, had to switch out, and I think he's not been out of the frame in his few starts he's had at Haydock. Granted, without winning, but he's always ran well here. And yeah, I just thought he was a real win and place bet in this race. I think the track will suit him, and the long straight and everything will give him time to get rolling. He's a bit of a slow burner of a horse, and he's £1 above his last winning mark of 97. And Keith Dalglish's horses are running pretty well at the moment, Tom.
Yeah, sorry, I put you away there by skipping on to the 235 on my page, but you were spot on. So All Right Sunshine, who is a 10.0 shot. It's Bandinelli who's the relative shorty here, who is 3.5. Gubernator is 5.5. Have You Missed Me 9.0. Then we get down to your horse 10.0. All Right Sunshine. Right, Adele, I know. So I like the horse at the top of the betting, and I know you don't. So go on, first of all, you lead away, and then I'm laying one of your selections later on, and I'm terrified you're going to come out on top.
Yeah, well, we know what happens, don't we? Who was it, Steve? Was it me and you, Steve? Or was it me and Sam? We went head to head somewhere this year.
Yeah, you won. That was, yeah, I remember.
Well, Bandinelli is a big horse, and if you go back through his pedigree, he's a brother-told Persian who didn't handle any cut in the ground. And I know there's rain forecast for Saturday at Haydock, and it's good at the moment, but I wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't on the slow side at all. And obviously all his wins on turf have been on good to firm. So I'm going to lay him on the ground purposes. And I was looking for 4-year-olds have really good records in this race. So I thought he kind of fits the bill. But when I seen that, I didn't think he would handle the ground. I've just gone for a place bet with an old legend, Just Hubert, who will benefit going back up in trip to 2 miles. He won over that trip twice last year at Goodwood and at Ascot, and he's had a good pipe opener this year already as well. So hopefully that will have blown away a few cobwebs. Set back up in trip. Nicola gets on well with him. So I've gone for Just Hubert as a place bet, and I'm going to lay Bandinelli on the ground.
Adele, Will you only lay Bandinelli when you've seen the going, i.e. if there's any soft in the going description, or would you do it anywhere?
It's Haydock. It can't possibly be any quicker. No chance. Sound
like Alan King. I don't know if you saw his rant about Haydock. It was very entertaining. So I hadn't really factored that in. I saw that it was good currently, and that I didn't see there was much rain around. I completely agree. He definitely wants a sound surface Bandinelli. So that was built into if there was any soft in the going description, I wouldn't be backing him, but I was banking on it being no worse than good. That's my white flag going up. Steve Jones.
Yeah, I'd be a bit worried about soft ground as well, because Valley Forge is my selection, who I fancied last time at Newmarket, but I thought absolutely hated the track. And I thought, I still can't get out of my mind the way that Valley Forge won the Melrose at York last season. And I thought he looked a proper horse then. And I thought he would go on to perhaps even be kind of a group class stayer. And he hasn't done that, but he's still got the potential to. So hopefully he's taken a step forward for that. And the other thing is Andrew Boulding's horses haven't been in great form so far. And I think that they're just starting to hit a bit of form and certainly build a bit of momentum up. So I think Valley Forge will certainly improve for that comeback run. Would certainly like getting back on a more conventional track, even though I just hope that the ground is not as soft as Adele thinks it might be, because that would put me off. So, but Valley Forge.
There is rain forecast for Saturday. I just thought I'd let you know.
We're all terrified now. We're like, all right, be on weather watch then, perhaps for Haydock. Let's move on to the next at Goodwood. This is the 2:15, and it's the Festival Stakes. Far too difficult for me. It's open enough. Adele, I'll come straight back to you, and I'll give you prices when the selections are put up.
It was a very difficult one, I thought, and I just didn't really I didn't think Victory Chime beat that much when winning a listed race there last year before going abroad to Bahrain. So I just, even though he holds that kind of, he's proven at that level, I just wasn't quite sure whether he beat a whole lot that day. So I'm going to go with Stormy Antarctic because I know he's more than capable of holding his own at that level. He won the race last year off a mark of 110. So I've got him on side. He seems to be able to handle anything that's thrown at him, and I just think you're going to know what you're getting with him. So I'm going to go with him. He likes it at Goodwood, and I think he's big enough to back for a place market as well. So I just thought it was a tricky one. So I'm going to stick with a horse that I know is very much proven at that level.
He's 8.0, so he's definitely big enough to back in the place market. Move in Time was the horse that a few of us put up last time. And Charlie, I thought he was a bit disappointing on the face of it, but you're with him here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I put him up as well, but I just watched the race back, and he got very upset. He got upset in the stalls. He didn't break that well, and the more I watched it back, I just wonder, it was his first start since July, and that maybe he just needed the run. He sort of seemed to flatten out and then stayed on again late on. 4-year-olds have a good record in this race. I think four winners from the last 10 run-ins. Roger Varian's horse is maybe a concern, Tom. I think he's only sort of 1 from 25 over the last 14 days, but a few of them have been running okay. Andrea Azzini is back on board today, and I just was inclined to give him one more chance in what I completely agree is a tough race.
Okay, that's Move in Time. And Steve, I think biggest price of the lot for you.
Yeah, back in the day when you were in your early 20s, I knew that you were known as the West End Charmer. So I thought I would go along with West End Charmer, who hasn't run since finishing third to Victory Chime, who also runs in this race. And that was his first run of the season. Now, he goes well fresh. And when he gets to the front, he is very, very dangerous. And he couldn't get to the front in that Victory Chime race. Now, if he does this time, I think we've seen it so many times at Goodwood with Mark Johnson horses that they just don't come back. And Franny Norton is good as anyone from the front. And West End Charmer hasn't had a lot of racing. And that's the reason why, presumably, that they have to get him right first time out, and they generally do. So I'm with West End Charmer.
Okay, at double figures as well. Right, let's move on to the next Haydock. This is the 235, the Silver Bowl Handicap, where Mighty Ulysses is a warm order at 2.63. Benoit de la Sayette for John and Teddy Gosden. Dirty Old Town is next in the betting, who's 8.0. Mr. Wilson is 9.0. Bigger prices the rest. Okay, everyone is pretty keen Mighty Ulysses wise. Steve, I know you're... Go on, I'll start with you then, Steve. I agree with you for this shout. I take it this is win and place.
Yeah, providing the price is right. Mighty Ulysses is obviously got a good chance, and I think he's only about 21 for the St James's Palace. But he's got to give a stone, apart from the apprentice claim, to who put 50 in you. And I was really impressed with him last time at Newbury. He's won 3 out of 3. That was his comeback run. I thought 7 furlongs looked a bit sharp, but that blew the fizz out of him. I think he was well on top in the closing stages. I don't think he only won 3/4 of a length, but I don't think that does it justice, the winning distance. And he's still capable of a huge amount of improvement. So I don't think it's going to be easy for the favourite to give that much weight to a horse with the profile and the potential of who put 50 in you.
Okay, so he's 11.0. I definitely, he's a much bigger price than I thought. So I would have him on side win and place. Do you know what who put 50 in you the saying is, Steve? Because it sort of half applies to you.
Does it? I would have thought people would have had to put more than 150 in.
That's when somebody's chirping away and they don't stop. You're like, oh, who put 50 in you? It's very Steve Jones.
I've played cricket with you, Tom. I know exactly what it's all about.
So I agree win and place, but I think this favourite is a fair shout. I probably will back him for the win. He's sort of got the similar sort of profile as that Juddmonte horse from the same owner same trainer, who won at York. His name escapes my mind. Who had a Group 1 entry. The way that John Gosden tends to approach it is if he can see a handicap en route, if he looks at a mark and goes, yeah, we can take advantage of that, he tends to run them and they tend to win as well. So I think Mighty Ulysses, Adele will be very difficult to beat.
Was it called Simburu?
You got it. Absolutely, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this will win this horse. He was very impressed. He didn't quite stay, did he, when he ran in the Epsom Derby trial? He was keen over 1.25 miles, so the drop down to 1 mile certainly suited him at Newmarket. Benoit offsetted his penalty that day with his £7 claim. That's gone down to 5, but I still think he's the horse. If he's going to take up his entry in the St James's Palace, then he needs to be winning that on Saturday, doesn't he? I just want to give a little mention to Spirit Catcher, because it's a horse that I've been following for Charlie Mark Johnson, who won up at Musselburgh, won the Royal Mile or something handicap up there. And I don't think he handled Newmarket dip at all. He kind of he hit it and then just kind of hung then from there onwards. So whether he just didn't quite handle it, I think being back on a flatter surface like Haydock will suit him. And I just got him for a place bet just in case as well.
Okay, and Charlie, all about the favourite?
Yeah, I think he's very backable at his price as well. The interesting thing with him is he had a hood on at Newmarket for his win last time, which I think has been taken off now. So whether they just use it as a one-off to try and help him switch off a bit better, but the drop back and trip seemed perfect for him. He's a real strong traveller. Again, I think, as you were saying, he's got Group 1 entries, Group horse in the making, and the Gosden angle for doing that and putting him in a handicap is there for everyone to see. And yeah, I'm very strong about him. Mighty Ulysses, yeah. Okay,
Mighty Ulysses, 2.63 currently. And if in the betting goes the way of Simburu, he could end up a good bit short of that horse, ended up going odds on. Reminder before we kick on of our welcome offer at Matchbook. It's a £30 welcome offer with money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. So it's for new customers only. You've got to use the bonus code Insights30, Insights30. That's the numbers. Place your first bet. If it loses, Matchbook will refund your stake as a free bet up to £30. The full terms and conditions are on the Matchbook website. 18 plus, be gamble aware. If you are listening to our content here and you don't have a Matchbook account, it's well worth taking advantage of. You're likely to get best odds anyway, given the nature of the Matchbook exchange, which we've explained plenty of times. but also you can have £30 back as a free bet if that first bet of yours loses. So it's well worth taking advantage of, and it's across all the sports as well. Okay, 255 at York we move to next. This is a 5 furlong handicap. Love these. Charlie, I know you're sitting this one out. 14 runner field, coming down the centre, and it is very open as well. So Alligator Alley heads the betting currently at 6.0. 6.5 for Lookout Louis. Sir Titus is 9.0. Atalis Bay is the same price. Jawal 11.0. We're into the bigger prices then. Okay, 3 different shouts. Go on, Steve, you're back with the old boy, Copper Knight. I was tempted last time, and then I didn't think he ran all that well.
I've just seen his price. I can't quite believe it, to be honest. So if he stays around 15.0, happy days, winning place. Now, I always think that you want to be sort of towards the far side or the middle in the sprints at York. But in this race, I think all the pace is high, and Copper Knight's one of them. I think Atalis Bay obviously will go forward, and I think Copper Knight sit upside. So I don't think it's going to be easy to come too far off the place. I was interested in Jawal, but he's drawn in 1 and he likes to be held up. And this Copper Knight absolutely loves York, and I know he didn't run one of his better races last time. That was his second start of the season, and if you go back, he tends to need 2 runs. He quite often wins on his third start of the season, which is in line with a lot of sprinters. They tend to hit peak form on the third start of the season. If that's the case with Copper Knight, his record at York is just fantastic, and I'm willing to forgive him that one last time if it just because he's getting a bit older. He might need another run to actually put him on peak form, and if that's the case, he just loves the place. So 15.0 is insane for me.
15.0 Copper Knight. What do you make of that draw, Adele, on the straight course? Because I like Steve. For some reason, I feel like middle to far side is where you want to be. And in the opening sprint at York, the meeting there last week, all the pace seemed to be that side, and they won up the near side. So do you just think it's where the pace is?
The first thing I said to Paul last week was, how come we always used to come the stands rail, then everyone went up the middle to the far side, and then last week everyone was coming more towards the stands rail again. I just didn't get it. I don't know if it's because sometimes when it rides softer, you would come the stand side. And I know a lot of the jockeys last week were, because I know they had it down as good, but especially the first day, a lot of jockeys were coming in and saying it was on the slow side. I know when I interviewed John Gosden, he noted the fact that he said it was slow, the ground. So I don't know if it was just because the ground was slow and they ended up coming that side. I just, to be honest with you, I just don't get it at York. It's literally different every time. When I used to ride them, I used to just think, just stay in a straight line. That's, quickest way, A to B. But yeah, I can't answer that, Tom, because I just don't know why they do it.
That's fine. I guess maybe the best thing isn't to pick a side before you've looked at a race, and then if there is, like Steve said here, the pace is all one side. I guess that's where you got to stick to your guns.
The stands rail at the last meeting was quicker on the going stick compared to the middle and the far side, so that might be why as well. So that might be just worth checking at on the day. Just check the going stick reports and just see what William has it down as, whether he has it quicker on the stand side or not. That's always worth checking at York. Okay,
where are you looking?
I'm going for a horse called Sir Titus. He's a horse that I followed last year, and I backed him first time out at Redcar the other day, and he just got beat by Neck. I'm going for a horse that I think is still very much unexposed. I know we've got the old boys in here. Like Venturis, I think, has been given a chance by the handicapper, but I would just really like to see Connor Beasley on him because I think he's a horse that is better for knowing. He's absolutely huge. I'd say Tom Marquand got a shock when he seen him when he rode him there the other day because he's like a dinosaur. He's absolutely massive. And he's quirky in the stalls. He can rear up, he can miss the break, and you just have to really make his mind up for him. If Connor had been back on him, I think I would be siding with Venturis at a big price, and I still might sneak him in there just for some place market. But Sir Titus is an absolutely gorgeous looking horse. I think he probably just needed his run back because he's quite big, quite top heavy, wasn't beaten all that far, and just sneaks in at a weight of 8 stone 9. And I think Tom being on him, because I do think he needs his mind making up. So I think Tom Eves being on him is a plus.
I backed Venturous last time, and he didn't really go a yard, did he? But he's been eased a couple of pounds now, and he's 21.0. So you've sort of half reminded me I might have to have a saver there. But my selection is Night on Earth, who I think the track will really suit him. The horse watchers know the sort of horse it takes to win over this straight 5. I think it's interesting. Harry Davis rode him last time in a conditions race. He's on board again. He actually ran well. He could have effectively gone up a little bit for that run last time. He ran well in that company at a big price. I think the track will really suit, and I think he'll try and blitz him. He has been slowly away once or twice, so that's a slight niggle. But I think there's still room to manoeuvre off a marker 95 at 13.0. So it's a win place bet on Night on Earth for me. A Night on Earth for Titus Copper Knight, the 3 selections there. We move on to the Sandy Lane. I'm surprised we all agree so much here, and we're going against the favourite ever so slightly. So I'll give you the prices in a sec, but first of all, Charlie, you can make your case.
I'm just surprised that he's not outright favourite Go Bears Go, if I'm being completely honest, as in the best juvenile form. He was a genuine Group 1 performer last year. I thought his Ascot return was absolutely fine. He could do no more than win. Small field. He kept things very simple. Popped out, made the run in, and Eraz has ran okay since. Was it Newbury? I think on his run since. And so yeah, I was just really the whole season has been revolved around plotting back from the Commonwealth Cup with this horse with David Loughnane, and like I say, it started really well, and yeah, I just thought he'd be much shorter, Tom, in all honesty. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him run, and like I say, I think he's a very attractive proposition in this race on Saturday.
When I first looked at the race, he was actually nearly half a point bigger than El Caballo. They have evened out a bit, so you're looking at 3.5 the pair now. But I agree. I think he should be clear favourite. So I'd it'd be an early bet for me. I've got a feeling he will go off favourite. I think he's got the best juvenile form, and it proved that he's trained on with his success last time. Steve.
I just think that his 6 furlong form is by far the best. It was only beaten a length just over by Perfect Power in the Group 1, the Middle Park, and he also was only beaten a length in another Group 1 in Ireland. And he just looked a sprinter last year. And like Charlie says, what he did on his comeback was great. I just thought it was a perfect starting point. You don't want a horse like him who's going to have, you would hope, a productive season in top level races like the Commonwealth Cup, and you don't want him 100% fit first time out. But I thought that was a great starting point, and I'm amazed that he's not favourite. Al Caballo, who seems to be the main rival, it's also good. He's drawn right on the stand side, and Go Bears Go is one inside him, so he should get perfectly because Al Caballo likes to go from the front. So I just see everything in Go Bears Go favour.
Okay, I just seen his Soul Win came on soft, and I remember thinking, well, it's not going to be soft at Haydock. Now I'm worried. Adele, Adele. So Flaming Rib, you're going to put up at 8.0, and then I'm interested in this. You're going to mention Gears a Sub because he's a sort of horse I couldn't make a case for. So take it away. I'm interested.
Well, he's one to keep an eye on anyway. I know he was a beaten favourite when he made his reappearance up at Hamilton, but that was over 5 furlongs. He's not a 5 furlong horse at all. He never even ran over 5 furlongs as a 2-year-old. If anything, I think he'd probably get a little bit further this year. Really nice horse. I remember I tipped him up down at Newbury, and he went mad in the stalls and got withdrawn. So I think you can make up a few excuses for him on his last runs. I think obviously 5 was way too short for him. And I think when he ran then his last day out in France, it probably was too soft for him. So I think you can cross a line through that. So I'm going to have him as a little place bet anyway, and one to keep in my tracker for the rest of the year. Kevin Ryan will definitely have a plan with this horse. He's got, honestly, such a nice looking horse, and he will have definitely needed his run back. And then I've gone for a horse that I think has got such a fantastic attitude, Flaming Rib. He's not the biggest, but he certainly knows how to win his races. And if you look at his form, I mean, he's only one bad run last year as a 2-year-old was in the Greenham over 7 furlongs when he was keen. He made his reappearance run back at Chester over 5 furlongs, showing he's very versatile. He'll handle any ground, and I think he's such a fantastic horse. I really liked him last year. I remember seeing him at Doncaster when he won that listed race, and you kind of overlook him because he's not a flashy looking horse. He's kind of quite light framed. He's not like a big chunky sprinter that you would expect to see. And I think he's got a little bit of stamina in there as well. So I'm going to go for Flaming Rib and gives a sub for one to watch and play at the place market.
26.0 for Gears a sub. If you're looking in the place market, you can sort of half work out what he'll be when that market fills out. And 8.0 for Flaming Rib. A couple of shouts for Go Bears Go, who's not clear favourite at the moment, 3.5 joint favourites we have currently. We move on to the 3:30 at York. We've got two more to go. 3:30 at York is over a mile 6. It's the Bronte Cup, Fillies Stakes. Believe in Love is the filly that heads the betting. Currently a 4.5 shot. 5.5 for Mighty Blue. Silence Please is 6.0. Urban Artist, last year's second, is 8.0. Eileen Dover is 9.5, as is Glenartney, and 21.0 Sea Sylph. I'll just kick off because my shout is pretty boring. Urban Artist ran really well last year when finishing second to Tribal Craft. She had a bit of company for the lead that day. Maybe she wants a bit of cut in the ground, which I'm not certain she's going to get, but equally, she might have a bit more chance of lasting home if it's not quite so soft underfoot. I don't think she wants it quick anyway. She's, we know how good she is. There might be something better in the race than her, but I think she'll get an easy go of it up top, and it might just be an angle to look at getting out in the run. I definitely think she'll trade a good bit shorter in the run. So that's probably how I've been looking to play it. Back her, and then maybe just try and get out in the run, because I think she'll definitely go forward. And I think a furlong out, there's every chance she'll look the winner. I'm just a little bit concerned about how she will finish off the race. Adele, nothing for you. And Steve and Charlie are singing from a similar hymn sheet. Steve?
Yeah, not massively strong on Silence Please, but I certainly think that she is the one I fancy the most in this. And she was with Jessie Harrington last year in Ireland, and although she didn't win, she ran some good races. She was in group races all the time. She was in Group 1 races some of the time, and she switched to Andrew Boulding. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think Andrew Boulding's been in much form, but I do think that they're starting to run a lot better. And Silence Please was only third in a listed race at Goodwood last time, but she got no run at all. That typical Goodwood kind of waiting for a run, and when the gap appeared, it closed as soon as it opened. And she was certainly valued to be a lot closer to a horse called Bart Zeller of William Haggis, who looks a really smart prospect. So I'm expecting a bit more from Silence Please. A little bit worried that the only time she's been to York, she didn't run at all well, but maybe that was there was something wrong. And also, she wore a visor a lot of the time, or cheek pieces or visor in Ireland. She didn't wear anything at Goodwood last time on debut for Andrew Boulding, and she's now got the visor on. So there's reasons to be positive about her.
Charlie, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in complete agreement with what Steve said, and I just chuck in the more conventional course and an extra 2 furlongs in trip are all additional weight to that case that he's made.
Okay, Silence Please in the Bronte Cup for Steve and Charlie. And the last race we're going to look at is the Kazoo Temple Stakes. Kazoo stepping in to support this card at late notice. 3:45 at Haydock, and currently Winter Power is bang at the top of the betting, is a 2.5 shot. Twilight Calls is next in at 6.5. 9.0 came for the Dark Kins Lynn, and then we get into the bigger prices. All right, Charlie and Steve can make their case before Mulrennan and I go head to head. Looking forward to this. I'm also terrified I'm completely wrong. Charlie, first of all, you got a shout at a fair price?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because he was a lay for me on the podcast the last time we were on at Chester Kings Lynn. As in, I think he doesn't always find winning that easy, this horse, but he has one of his wins last season was round at Haydock. I mean, I think Winter Power first and foremost is going to be very tough to beat. You know, she had an excellent year last season as a 3-year-old. There's every reason to believe as a 4-year-old could be better again. But I was looking for something to take the favourite on with from a place option, and Kings Lynn is a very consistent sprinter. like I say, has course form. As Steve has said, Andrew Bolden's horses are running well now. And I just thought at the price 10.0, around the 9, 10.0, that he's a kind of a shoe-in to give his run in. And so he was a place bet for me in a race that I think Winter Power is probably going to be very, very difficult to beat.
Okay, place bet for King's Lynn. And Steve?
Yeah, winning place for me on Last Crusader, who I was really impressed with at York at the Dante meeting just last week or so. And I think the fact that Last Crusader is unexposed over 5 furlongs was exclusively over 6 last year. And although ran all right in group races and went close in that red car, was it the 2-year-old trophy, do they call it, or something like that? The drop to 5 furlongs last week was just the making of this horse. I think Last Crusade is very fast. Went on the front end last week, and although there's a case for saying that he got his own way out in front, he certainly had the pace to cope with 5 furlongs. In fact, it was to his advantage that the distance, and he was so strong in the closing stages. He looked like he had a real fight on his hands. A furlong or 2 out, and he just kicked in and powered clear. So I think going to Haydock, a similar track where you do need a lot of pace, he might not be good enough, but he's only 3. He's only run over 5 furlongs once, and he's bolted up, and he's clearly in form, and he's clearly improving. And it's interesting that race at York last year was the race that Winter Power won, who's 6-4 for this, having won the Nunthorpe. So it's not impossible by any means to sort of hit that level. And I think he's a really exciting horse, Last Crusader. Little bit, I could have done with a better draw, but he does like to race prominently. So Danny Tubhope, I'm sure, will be able to get a nice position.
Okay, 2.5 for this is Winter Power, Steve. 2.5. You'll get there. You haven't been on the match pod for that long. You're fine. Right. By this point, Adele, Bandinelli has basically pulled up on soft ground. I'm head in hands. I'm like, what am I going to do? I've got to get one back. So, my best lay is Winter Power. On account of the fact that she's a York. I'm sort of over exaggerating this, but she's a York specialist, and I don't think the Nunthorpe form has really worked out at all. Why do you think she wins? Well,
she's a very smart filly, and I don't think it's the strongest Temple Stakes, I have to say. There's no Batash in there, is there? I didn't think it was a great race, to be honest with you. It's not a race that I'm singing about. And I think I spoke to Duran Fentiman, who rides her out, and he said she's going well. He was worried that she might just need the run, but she won first time out last year. She's not the biggest. I rode her mother. She didn't take any getting fit, so I can't imagine she would really need it that much. I mean, Last Crusader, the form from York wasn't that great. He beat a couple of novice winners. Cunnan, probably the better one, who's won at group level. I didn't think it was great form for something like this. I just thought, if anything, if Danny got out on the front end, he might steal the race. But if she is anywhere near her best, she's going to be hard to beat, and it's as simple as that.
Okay, and just on the track, just because I sort of haven't really got a strong view on it, but obviously her last 3 wins have come at York. Like this, I suppose this wouldn't be a vastly different 5, would it?
No, not all. I always take York form for Haydock. They're not too dissimilar at all. Both galloping tracks. I wouldn't have any doubts at all about the track at Haydock.
Okay, well, I'm using it as strength to my argument because I've got to find something to strengthen it. So at 2.5, I'm going to have a lay on Winter Power off the back of the fact that it's her first start of the year, and I know that Emiratiana has come out and won from the Nunthorpe, but ultimately I don't know how well it's worked out. So hopefully there's an improver in there. I just think she's a little bit too short. Okay,
what about ground? What about ground, guys? Winter Power. If we get this rain, it goes slow.
She has won on soft ground before. She won at Newmarket on soft ground, but it was excuses, wasn't it, over in France, that it was heavy. that time. So I
You
don't.
said Haydock soft ground. It's Haydock.
Yes,
soft ground.
Charlie. Yes,
She'll be
Charlie.
fine.
Close. All
She'll be
right.
fine. My only worry was when I spoke to Duran and he was like, yeah, she's not quite fully tuned up. And I was like, oh, okay.
Do you know that was I hadn't really genuinely hadn't because I hadn't banked on it. I thought it was going to be good to firm, but there you are. It's a bit more strength. But yeah, she did. You're right. She did win on soft at Newmarket. Okay, we'll see what way she goes in the betting. I wonder if she'll end up being shorter. Be interesting if she is. It'll be a stronger lay for me. Which moves
in the paddock, she's going to look fit. She's not like a horse that's quite gross anyway. So I don't think she'll drift out. I think if anything, she might shorten up.
Which brings us to best lays quite nicely. For me, 2.5 is fine, and if she does shorten up, I really don't think she should be any shorter than that personally. So Winter Power is my best lay of the day. Adele, your best lay?
My best lay is Bandinelli. I think the ground's going to be too soft for him. So the fact that all his wins are on good to firm, and even his brother Old Persian didn't handle any soft either. So any juice in the ground. So Bandinelli for me.
Charlie, your best lay?
Tomorrow, the Derby trial at Goodwood, Lysander. If he shortens up to 2.0, I just thought Natural World was ridden too aggressively at Lingfield, but the track might suit him. Oldless Huxley ran okay at Newmarket, and I really like Lionel. I'm looking forward to seeing him run tomorrow. So if Lysander ends up 2.0 or less, then he's a lay for me.
Interesting. You mentioned Lionel. He was our sort of big price Team Steam and then was pulled out the race last time he was due to run. I do agree he's very interesting. And I think Charlie's 100% with his best lays so far, and they don't always fall on the day that we're previewing. So interesting. Steve Jones, your best lay?
Stratford, 7:30 in the evening. And I don't know the betting for this horse, but it was of a SP forecast that could be miles off the mark. Crimson King was around 2.4, something like that, 2.5, and has never run any sort of race, flat or jumps, on turf. So if that horse is that sort of price, even though it's an awful race, I'd be taking Crimson King on because I think he's an all-weather horse.
Okay, that's Stratford, 7:30, Crimson King. Best bets for Saturday afternoon or anywhere this weekend. Charlie, straight back at you. Your best bet?
Mighty Ulysses, just for all the reasons that we discussed earlier on. Possibly potentially a group horse in a handicap, and I think better days are ahead of him. And if he's any sort of price, I'm very, very keen on him this weekend.
Round about 2.5, I think, currently in that 235. Haydock, Steve, your best bet?
Go Bears go. Bears are always best. And in the Sunday Lane, I think, it's pretty straightforward for me. I think Go Bears go is the best horse in the race, has the best form, and it's going to be a really exciting sprint prospect. Adele,
where are you going for your best bet?
I'm going up to Musselburgh, a horse called Eddie's Boy that Paul rides for Archie Watson, who runs in the 3 minutes past 3 conditions race, who won at Southall, has got some really fancy entries, especially in those valuable sales races. So I think he'll run a big race, and I think hopefully Paul will have a winner.
Adele, I think this is the first time you've ever put up one of Paul's mounts as your best bet. I'm actually quite nervous now.
I'm nervous as well.
Good luck to
so fingers crossed.
Good luck to that one, and I'm going for Bosch, who is now the mount of Jamie Spencer. That's my best bet. Good, that's worked out well. So Pat Dobbs isn't riding, Jamie Spencer's riding, which is obviously a great sign. That's good. Bosch is my best bet. Old safe hands, Jamie Spencer.
What have you got against Jamie Spencer?
No, it's just the fact that Pat Dobbs would have had the choice of him and another one.
How do you know? How do you know that they weren't waiting for Jamie to say, yeah, I'll ride it?
Because Dobbsy's ridden this horse the last 4 starts, and the other one.
Perhaps they're fed up with Pat Dobbs and said, look, you've not been riding it right. We want Jamie Spencer.
You're quite right. Jay Sullivan and W Salthouse, the owners, they've been hanging on for Spencer, and this is a big sign that Bosch is going to run a massive race. Good, that's it on that note. Adele, Charlie, Steve, thank you very much indeed. hope everyone's enjoyed that, and we'll be back again next week. I think the derby's not far away. I can't even work out how far away it is, but we'll be there shortly. Don't forget to check out the Insights post for all the best bets. They'll be up there, and that is across all sports this weekend as well. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.